Some secrets are meant to stay buried forever, tucked away in the corners of our hearts where no one can find them. But life has a strange way of bringing truth to light, especially when we least expect it. This is a story about love that was lost. Children who grew up without knowing their father. In a moment of destiny that changed everything in the blink of an eye, Camila Torres smoothed down her daughter's hair one more time, her hands trembling slightly. The grand auditorium of the convention center in Rio de Janeiro buzzed with excitement. Hundreds of families gathered for the final ceremony of the Young Innovators Challenge. Her 6-year-old twins, Lucas and Sofia, stood beside her in their matching blue blazers, practically vibrating with nervous energy. "Mammy, do you think we actually won?" Sofia whispered, her brown eyes wide with hope. "Whatever happens, I'm already so proud of you both," Camila replied, though her stomach churned with an entirely different kind of anxiety. When the twins had told her they made it to the finals, she'd felt genuine joy. But when she learned that TechVision Solutions was sponsoring the event, that Daniel Rocha himself would be presenting the awards, her world tilted on its axis. Lucas tugged at his collar impatiently. "The app we made is really good, Sofia. We helped Mrs. Garcia's class improve their reading scores by 40%. Camila smiled despite the panic building in her chest. Her children were brilliant, creative souls who'd inherited their father's gift for technology and her determination. They'd built a reading comprehension application that used gamification to help struggling students. And they'd done it mostly on their own, staying up past bedtime. Their little faces illuminated by computer screens. The lights dimmed and Camila's breath caught in her throat. The stage lights came up, revealing a tall figure walking to the microphone. Daniel Rocha. Even after 7 years, seeing him felt like being struck by lightning. He looked older, more refined, his dark hair touched with gray at the temples. But his presence still commanded every room he entered.
"Good evening."
"Everyone," Daniel's voice resonated through the auditorium, warm and confident. 7 years ago, I started TechVision Solutions with a simple dream: to make technology accessible to every child in Brazil, regardless of their background. Tonight, we celebrate the young minds who are already changing our world. Camila's hands gripped her purse tighter. She should have known this would happen. Should have kept the twins away. But how could she deny them this moment of achievement? How could she tell them no when their faces lit up with such pure joy at the possibility of winning? The ceremony progressed through various categories. Each time a child walked across that stage, Camila's heart raced faster. Then came the moment she'd been dreading. And now, for our grand prize winner in the social impact category, Daniel announced, opening the golden envelope in his hands. His eyes scanned the card, and Camila saw him pause, saw something flicker across his face. The winners are Lucas and Sofia Torres for their reading application Story Friends. The auditorium erupted in applause. Sofia squealed and grabbed Lucas's hand. But Camila felt frozen, watching as her children bounded up the stairs to the stage, their faces glowing with happiness. She forced herself to clap, to smile, to be the proud mother they deserved. Daniel bent down to shake their hands, holding a large trophy. That's when it happened. Camila saw the exact moment recognition hit him. His hand stopped mid-shake, his eyes widening as he looked from Lucas to Sofia and back again. The resemblance was undeniable if you knew what to look for. Lucas had Daniel's exact smile, the way one corner lifted slightly higher than the other. Sofia had his distinctive amber-flecked eyes, unusual and striking. Both children had inherited his thick, wavy hair and the same determined set to their jaws. Daniel's gaze snapped up, scanning the audience with sudden intensity. When his eyes found hers, Camila felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. 7 years elapsed into nothing. She saw confusion flash across his face, then shock, then something that looked painfully like understanding. "Congratulations," Daniel managed to say to the twins, his voice slightly rough. "Tell me about your application." Lucas, oblivious to the undercurrents, launched into an enthusiastic explanation. "We noticed that our friend Julio had trouble reading, and the teacher said he might have to repeat the year. So we thought, what if learning to read was like playing a video game? You collect characters, go on adventures, but you have to read the story to progress. And it worked, Sofia added excitedly. Julio's reading improved so much. Now 12 kids in our school use it every day. That's remarkable, Daniel said, and Camila could hear the tremor in his voice. How old are you both? 6, they answered in unison. 6 years old, Daniel repeated slowly, his eyes finding Camila again across the crowd. The math was simple, brutally simple. That's incredible, the ceremony continued, but Camila barely registered anything else. She watched Daniel present the other awards on autopilot, his movements mechanical. He kept glancing toward where she sat, his expression a mixture of disbelief and something she couldn't quite name. When the ceremony ended, families swarmed the stage for photos. Camila tried to gather the twins and leave quickly, but Sofia insisted on getting a picture with Daniel. Camila's heart hammered as they approached. Mr. Rocha, can we take a photo? Sofia asked sweetly. Of course, Daniel said, but his eyes were on Camila. Up close, she could see the questions burning there, the shock barely contained beneath his professional demeanor. The photographer counted down. 3, 2, 1. Click. A moment frozen in time. Daniel kneeling between the twins. His arms around them, looking at the camera while the children beamed. Behind them, Camila stood with her hand over her mouth, trying not to cry. As they turned to leave, Daniel's hand caught her arm gently. Camila, he said, his voice low and intense. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about, she whispered back, pulling away. Those children, ... he began. Are mine, she interrupted firmly. Only mine. Come on, kids, we need to go. But as they walked away, Lucas turned back, waving enthusiastically at Daniel. And in that small gesture, in the innocent joy of a child waving goodbye to someone he'd just met, Camila knew that everything was about to change. The secret she'd protected for 7 years had just been exposed, and there was no going back now. The taxi ride home felt endless. Lucas and Sofia chattered excitedly about the ceremony, about the trophy now resting between them, about how they couldn't wait to tell their grandmother. Camila nodded and smiled at appropriate moments, but inside, she was falling apart. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She knew without answering who it was. Mammy, aren't you happy we won? Sofia asked, noticing her mother's distraction. Of course, mi amor. I'm incredibly happy, Camila replied, pulling both children close. You two are my whole world. That night, after putting the twins to bed, Camila sat in her small kitchen, hands wrapped around a cup of tea that had long gone cold. Her phone buzzed again. Same number. This time, there was a message. Please. I just want to understand. The cafe on Rua Augusta. Tomorrow at noon? She should ignore it. Should block the number and pretend tonight never happened. But deep down, she'd always known this day would come. Secrets this big don't stay hidden forever. 7 years ago, everything had been different. Camila had been 21, a promising intern at TechVision Solutions. Fresh out of university with a degree in computer science and dreams bigger than the São Paulo skyline. Daniel had been 27, the youngest CEO in Brazil's tech sector. Brilliant and driven, but surprisingly kind to the nervous intern, who kept breaking the coffee machine. Their relationship had started with late nights debugging code, evolved into deep conversations about changing the world through technology, and eventually became something neither of them had planned, but both desperately wanted. For 3 beautiful months, they'd existed in their own bubble, keeping their relationship quiet but feeling more alive than ever before. Then came the phone call that changed everything. Daniel's mother had collapsed. Brain aneurysm. The doctors gave her days, maybe a week. Daniel left for Brasilia immediately, and Camila understood. Family came first. I'll be back as soon as I can, he'd promised, kissing her forehead. Wait for me. Always, she'd replied, but life had other plans. 2 weeks later, Camila missed her period. Another week, and the pregnancy test showed 2 lines. Then another test. Then a doctor's appointment that revealed not 1 heartbeat, but 2 twins. She'd sat in that clinic, 21 years old and pregnant with twins, trying to process a future that had just become infinitely more complicated. She'd tried calling Daniel, but his phone went straight to voicemail. His mother's condition had worsened. She'd sent messages, but they went unread. She understood he was dealing with unimaginable grief, but she needed to tell him. Needed him to know. Then came the news article that shattered her world. She'd been scrolling through social media when she saw it. Tech CEO Daniel Rocha announces engagement to banking heiress Beatrice Mendez. The photo showed Daniel in a formal suit, standing next to a stunning woman in an elegant dress, both smiling at a fancy restaurant. The caption talked about uniting two powerful Brazilian families and a partnership that would reshape the country's tech landscape. Camila had stared at that photo for hours, reading and rereading the article, searching for some explanation that would make sense. He'd said he loved her. He'd made promises. How could he be engaged to someone else just 3 weeks after leaving? She'd felt like a fool. A naive intern who'd believed her boss actually cared about her? When clearly she'd been nothing but a temporary distraction, the pregnancy suddenly felt like a trap, like something that would ruin his perfect new life with his perfect new fiancé. Pride and pain made her decision. She wouldn't be the mistress who showed up pregnant, demanding attention. She wouldn't be the complication in his carefully arranged life. She'd handle this alone, the way she'd handled everything else in her life. She sent a simple resignation email, packed her apartment in 2 days, and moved 400 kilometers away to Rio de Janeiro, where her aunt owned a small apartment she could rent cheaply. What Camila didn't know, couldn't have known, was that the engagement had been her mother's dying wish. On her deathbed, Senora Rocha had begged Daniel to marry Beatrice, daughter of her oldest friend, to secure the company's future through a merger of families. In his grief, Daniel had agreed, desperate to give his mother peace in her final hours. The engagement had lasted exactly 8 weeks. Daniel had realized he couldn't marry someone he didn't love, couldn't live a lie to satisfy social expectations. He'd called off the wedding, returned the ring, and started searching for Camila. But she'd vanished completely, leaving no forwarding address, no trace. He'd assumed she'd simply moved on, maybe met someone else, started a new life. He'd never imagined the real reason for her disappearance. Now, sitting in her kitchen, Camila pulled out an old shoebox from the back of her closet. Inside were photos she'd never shown the twins. Pictures of her and Daniel at the company picnic, laughing. A napkin where he'd drawn a silly cartoon of them as superheroes. A printed email where he'd written about his dreams for the future. Dreams that had included her. Why did I never tell them? She whispered to the empty room. But she knew why. It had seemed easier to say their father had been someone who couldn't stay, rather than someone she'd run from. Easier to build a life of just the 3 of them than to risk the twins feeling rejected or unwanted. The next morning, Camila dropped Lucas and Sofia at school, hugged them extra tight, and took a deep breath. The cafe on Rua Augusta was quiet this time of day, just a few people working on laptops. Daniel sat in the corner booth, 2 cups of coffee already on the table. He looked like he hadn't slept. "You remembered how I take my coffee," Camila said softly, sitting down across from him. "I remember everything," Daniel replied. His eyes were redrimmed, intense. "Are they mine?" There was no point in lying. Yes, Daniel's breath came out in a rush, like he'd been punched. 6 years old. Born in... August 2018, 9 months after you left. Camila wrapped her hands around the warm cup. "I tried to tell you, Daniel. I called. I sent messages. But you were dealing with your mother, and then you were engaged, and I just... engaged." Daniel looked confused. "That disaster? It lasted less than 2 months. I was looking for you by December, Camila. I went to your apartment, but you'd moved. I asked everyone at the company, but you'd resigned by email. You disappeared." "I saw the announcement," Camila said, pulling out her phone and finding the old article she'd screenshotted. You look so happy with her. I thought I'd been just a distraction." Daniel stared at the photo, then closed his eyes. "My mother's dying wish. She made me promise to marry Beatrice, said it would secure the company's future. I was 27 and had just lost my mother. I wasn't thinking straight." He opened his eyes, and they were wet with unshed tears. "But I couldn't do it. I called it off because I loved you. I've spent 7 years wondering what happened to you, why you left. And I spent 7 years thinking you chose someone else, Camila whispered. I was pregnant, alone, terrified. I thought I was protecting you from a complication you didn't need. Protecting me? Daniel's voice cracked. You were carrying my children, and you thought you were protecting me by hiding them. I thought I was doing the right thing. Tears finally spilled down Camila's cheeks. I was 21, Daniel. 21, and pregnant with twins. You were the successful CEO with a fiancé and a company to run. I didn't want to be the scandal that brought you down. Daniel reached across the table, taking her hand. They're beautiful. Brilliant. That application they built. Camila, they're extraordinary. They are, she agreed softly. They're everything to me. I've missed 6 years of their lives. The pain in his voice was palpable. First words, first steps, first day of school. Everything. I know. I'm sorry, do they know about me? Did you tell them anything? Camila shook her head. I said their father couldn't be with us. I never gave details. I didn't want them to feel unwanted or to resent someone they'd never met. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. I want to meet them properly. I want them to know who I am. Daniel, they're 6 years old. This will turn their world upside down. Their world is already upside down. They just don't know it yet. He squeezed her hand. I'm not trying to steal them from you, Camila, but they're my children too. Don't I deserve a chance to be their father? Camila pulled her hand away, standing up. I need time to think about how to do this. They can't just find out their mother has been lying to them their whole lives. Then let's figure it out together, Daniel said, standing too. Please, I've already lost 6 years. Don't make me lose any more. As Camila walked out of the cafe, her phone buzzed with a message from Sofia's teacher. Lucas got into a fight today defending his sister. Can you come to school? Her children needed her, just like they always had. But now, for the first time, she wondered if maybe they needed their father too. The principal's office smelled like old books and anxiety. Lucas sat in a chair, arms crossed, a purple bruise blooming on his cheek. Sofia sat beside him, holding his hand and crying softly. Across from them, another boy held an ice pack to his nose while his mother glared at Camila. Your son attacked Pedro for no reason, the other mother declared angrily. That's not true. Sofia burst out. Pedro said horrible things about us. What did he say? Camila asked gently, kneeling in front of her daughter. Sofia's lower lip trembled. He said we were weird because we don't have a daddy. He said we were probably from a laboratory or something, and that's why we're so good with computers. He said, we're not real children. Camila's heart broke. Lucas's jaw was set in that stubborn way he had, so much like Daniel's. I told him to take it back, Lucas said quietly. I gave him 3 chances. He kept laughing, so I made him stop. The meeting ended with both boys suspended for 2 days. As they walked to the car, Camila's phone rang. Daniel. She'd been avoiding his calls for 3 days since their cafe meeting. Not now, she muttered. Sending it to voicemail. At home, she made hot chocolate and sat the twins down at their small kitchen table. We need to talk about what happened today. I'm not sorry, Lucas said immediately. Pedro was being mean about you and Sofia. I appreciate you defending your sister, but violence isn't the answer. Camila paused, weighing her words carefully. And Lucas, Sofia, you need to know something. What Pedro said about not having a father, it's not entirely true. Both children looked up sharply. What do you mean? Sofia whispered. Before Camila could answer, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, she saw Daniel standing there, holding 2 large gift bags. She hadn't told him where she lived. He must have found her address from the competition registration. Who is it? Lucas called out. Camila took a deep breath. There was no more running. It's someone we need to talk to. When she opened the door, Daniel's eyes immediately went to Lucas's bruise. What happened to his face? He was defending his sister at school, Camila said quietly. Stepping aside to let him in, the twins stood together in the living room, watching warily as this stranger entered their home. Daniel set down the bags and knelt to their level, just as he had on the stage. "Hi, Lucas. Hi, Sofia. I don't know if you remember me from the awards ceremony. You're the CEO," Lucas said suspiciously. "Why are you here?" Daniel looked at Camila, who nodded slightly. "Because I'm your father." The silence that followed was deafening. Sofia's eyes filled with tears. Lucas's face went through several emotions: shock, confusion, anger, finally settling on fury. "No, you're not," Lucas said, his voice shaking. "Our father isn't here. He's never been here. You can't just show up and say you're our dad." "Lucas," Camila began, but Daniel held up a hand. "He's right. I haven't been here." Daniel's voice was thick with emotion. "And that's going to be the biggest regret of my entire life." "But Lucas, Sofia, I didn't know you existed." "Your mother and I. We got separated before she knew she was pregnant. If I had known, nothing in this world would have kept me away." "Then why didn't you look for her?" Sofia asked, tears streaming down her face. "If you loved her, why did you let her go?" "I did look. I looked everywhere. But your mother had moved, and I couldn't find her." Daniel's hands were shaking. "But you're right to be angry. You have every right to be upset with me." Lucas stepped forward, his small face set with determination. "You can't just be our dad because you want to. You have to earn it." "You're absolutely right," Daniel agreed. "So tell me what I need to do." The question seemed to surprise Lucas. He looked at Sofia, then back at Daniel. "I don't know. I've never had a father before." "Well, I've never been a father before either," Daniel admitted. "So maybe we can figure it out together?" Sofia wiped her eyes. "Do you like building things?" "Lucas and I like building things. I love building things. That's actually how I started my company, building applications and programs." Daniel reached into one of the bags. "I brought you something. I know you already have computers, but these are specially designed tablets with development software. I thought maybe we could build something together sometime." Lucas took the tablet cautiously, examining it with expert eyes. "This is really advanced." "You two are really advanced," Daniel countered. "The application you built for the competition was better than some professional work I've seen." A small smile tugged at Lucas's lips before he remembered he was supposed to be angry. "We learned from online tutorials. Mammy couldn't always afford programming courses, so we taught ourselves." Daniel's eyes met Camila's across the room, and she saw the guilt there, the realization of everything they'd struggled with alone. "Your mother did an amazing job raising you. You're both extraordinary because of her." "She works very hard," Sofia said seriously. "Sometimes she works 2 jobs so we can have good computers for school," Camila said, embarrassed. But Daniel was already pulling out his phone. "Camila, we need to talk about that too." "Let me help. Let me support them. Support you. Don't need your money," Lucas said defiantly. "It's not about need," Daniel replied gently. "It's about me wanting to be responsible for my children. But more than that, I want to be part of your lives. I want to know your favorite foods and what makes you laugh. I want to help with homework and hear about your day. I want to be there when you're sad or scared or excited." The twins looked at each other, having one of those silent conversations that only twins can have. Finally, Sofia spoke. "Can we think about it?" "Of course. Take all the time you need." Daniel stood. "But I'd like to come back tomorrow if that's okay. Maybe bring breakfast." "What do you like?" "Po de queijo," both twins answered simultaneously. Daniel smiled, that crooked smile that Lucas had inherited. "Po de queijo it is." After he left, Camila sat with her children, all 3 of them processing this massive shift in their world. "Are you two okay?" "I don't know," Lucas admitted. "It's weird. He seems nice, but he's been gone our whole lives," Sofia finished. "How do we know he'll stay?" "You don't," Camila said honestly. "But I knew him before, and he's a good man." "What happened between us? The misunderstanding. That was my fault too. I ran away without giving him a chance to be your father." "Why did you run?" Lucas asked. "Because I was scared. I thought he'd chosen a different life, and I didn't want you two to feel unwanted. But I was wrong. He didn't know about you, and that's something I have to live with." Camila pulled them close. "I'm sorry I kept this from you. I thought I was protecting you, but maybe I was just protecting myself." The next morning, Daniel arrived with warm pio de queso, fresh juice, and a nervous smile. Breakfast was awkward, but not terrible. He asked them about school, about their favorite subjects, about the inspiration for their award-winning application. By the end, Lucas was cautiously explaining his coding process, while Sofia showed Daniel drawings she'd made for the app's interface. "You designed these?" Daniel asked, genuinely impressed. "Sofia, these are professional level. Have you ever thought about studying design?" "Really?" Sofia's face lit up. "I love drawing, but Lucas is better at the technical stuff." "Being a team makes you stronger," Daniel said. "Some of the best technology comes from people with different skills working together." Over the following weeks, Daniel became a regular presence. He started small, bringing breakfast on weekends, helping with homework, attending Sofia's art show at school. He never pushed, never demanded more than the twins were willing to give. When Lucas's class had a father-son science day and Lucas looked sad, Daniel quietly asked if he could attend. Lucas had agreed with a shrug, trying to seem casual, but Camila saw how carefully he'd prepared his project. Wanting to impress this man who was slowly becoming his father, one evening, a month into this new normal, Camila found Daniel and Lucas huddled over a laptop, working on an upgrade to their award-winning application. Sofia was showing them both her new character designs while music played softly in the background. "Mammy, look," Sofia called out. "We're adding a story mode where kids can create their own adventures." "That's wonderful, Amor," Camila said, feeling her throat tighten with emotion. That night, after Daniel left and the twins were asleep, Camila stood in their bedroom doorway, watching them dream. On Lucas's nightstand sat the trophy from the competition. Beside it was a photo from the father-son science day. Lucas and Daniel grinning at the camera, their smiles identical. Her phone buzzed. "Daniel, thank you for giving me this chance. They're the most amazing children I've ever met. We made something beautiful together, Camila, even if we didn't know it at the time," she typed back. "They ask about you when you're not here. Sofia wants to know if you'll come to her dance recital next week." "I'll be there. Front row," Camila smiled, tears slipping down her cheeks. They had a long way to go, layers of hurt to heal and trust to rebuild. But watching her children bloom with their father's attention, seeing Lucas's defensive walls slowly crumble and Sofia's shy smiles become more frequent, she knew they were on the right path. Sometimes the worst decisions we make come from a place of love and fear. Sometimes protecting the people we care about means letting them face hard truths. And sometimes, just sometimes, fate gives us a second chance to make things right. 6 months had passed since that life-changing award ceremony. The autumn leaves were falling outside the windows of TechVision Solutions, where Camila now worked as a senior developer. Daniel had offered her the position, but she'd insisted on interviewing properly, earning it on merit. She'd gotten the job not because of their complicated history, but because she was brilliant at what she did. The real change, though, wasn't in her career. It was in the small moments that made up their new life. Every Tuesday, Daniel picked up the twins from school and took them to his apartment where they'd work on coding projects together. Sofia designing interfaces while Lucas built the back-end functionality. These sessions often devolved into pizza parties and debates about whether artificial intelligence would ever truly understand human creativity every Saturday morning. The four of them had breakfast at the same cafe where Camila and Daniel had their difficult conversation months ago. The owner knew them now, always saved their corner table, knew that Lucas liked his orange juice with extra ice and Sofia preferred her hot. Chocolate with cinnamon. But tonight was different. Tonight was the twins' 7th birthday party. Both sides of their newly expanded family would be meeting for the first time. Camila's aunt and cousins from Rio, Daniel's father and sister from Brasilia, all coming together to celebrate two children who'd unknowingly bridged a 7-year divide. "Mammy, do I look okay?" Sofia asked, spinning in her new blue dress. Daniel had taken her shopping specifically for this party, letting her choose whatever she wanted. She'd picked this dress because, she'd told Camila later, it's the color of the sky, and the sky is where dreams live. "You look beautiful." "Miu amor," Camila said, adjusting the bow in Sofia's hair, in the next room. She could hear Lucas and Daniel discussing the setup for the party presentation. The twins had insisted on showing all the guests their latest project, an educational application designed to help children with dyslexia improve their reading confidence. It was their most ambitious work yet, and they'd built it together with Daniel's guidance. "Dad, do you think Grandpa will understand the technical aspects?" Lucas asked, and Camila's heart squeezed at the casual way he now said, "Dad." It had taken 3 months for that word to appear, first by accident, then with increasing frequency, until it became natural. "Your grandfather might be retired from medicine, but he's actually quite tech-savvy," Daniel replied. "He'll probably ask you questions that make you think even harder about your code." "Good," Lucas said determinedly. "I like when people challenge me." "I know you do," Daniel said warmly. "You got that from both your mother and me. We're both stubborn that way." The doorbell rang, and the evening began. Camila's Aunt Maria arrived first, enveloping the twins in her warm embrace. "Musa Morris, 7 years old. I remember when you were tiny babies, no bigger than loaves of bread." Daniel's father, Jorge, arrived shortly after, a distinguished man with kind eyes and graying hair. He shook Camila's hand warmly. "So you're the woman who gave me these brilliant grandchildren," he said, smiling. "Thank you for raising them so well." Camila felt tears prick her eyes. She'd been terrified of judgment from Daniel's family, but Jorge's kindness dissolved those fears. "I did my best." "Your best produced 2 extraordinary children," Jorge replied. Then, lowering his voice, "and for what it's worth, I'm glad my son finally found his way back to you. He's been different these past months, happy whole." The party progressed beautifully. Children from the twins' school ran around playing games, while adults chatted and laughed. But the highlight came when Lucas and Sofia took the stage, their presentation screen glowing behind them. "Good evening, everyone," Sofia began, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "Thank you for celebrating our birthday with us. Today, we want to show you something we've been working on," Lucas continued. "It's called Words Are Friends, and it's designed to help kids who struggle with reading." As the twins walked through their application, explaining each feature with passion and clarity, Camila found herself standing next to Daniel. His hand found hers, squeezing gently. "Look at them," he whispered. "They're going to change the world." "They already have," Camila replied. "They changed ours." After the presentation, after the cake and the presents and the singing, Camila found herself on the balcony, needing a moment of quiet. The city lights of Rio spread out below her, endless and beautiful. She heard footsteps and turned to find Daniel joining her. "Thank you for this party," she said. "The twins are so happy." "I should be thanking you," Daniel replied, "for giving me a chance to be their father, for not shutting me out completely when I showed up at your door." "I was terrified," Camila admitted. "Terrified of what it would do to them, to me, to the life we'd built. And now." She looked through the glass door at Lucas and Sofia, laughing with their cousins, surrounded by family, both old and new. "Now, I think maybe the life we're building is even better. More complete." Daniel turned to face her. "Camila, these months have been the happiest of my life. Getting to know our children, watching them grow, being part of their daily lives, it's everything I never knew I was missing. But there's something else I've realized, Daniel. Let me finish," he said gently. "I've realized that what we had 7 years ago, it wasn't just some relationship that ended. It was real. It was love. And Camila, it still is. For me, it never stopped." Tears welled in Camila's eyes. This isn't about the twins. About giving them a traditional family? The twins are the greatest gift I've ever received. But this is about us. About you and me? He took both her hands. "I'm not asking you to marry me tonight. I'm not rushing anything. But I am asking if you think maybe, possibly, we could try again. Not for the twins, but for ourselves. Because I love you, Camila Torres. I love you now just as much as I did 7 years ago." Camila looked at this man who'd become so important not just to their children, but to her, who'd shown up consistently, who'd been patient with Lucas's wariness and Sofia's questions, who'd never once complained about missed years, but instead focused on making the most of every moment going forward. "Scared," she admitted, "of getting hurt again. of things falling apart. I'm scared too, Daniel confessed. Terrified, actually. But Camila, being with you, building this family with you, it's worth the fear. You're worth it. She kissed him then, soft and tentative at first, then with more certainty. 7 years of pain and misunderstanding seemed to melt away, replaced by hope and possibility. Now they're kissing. Lucas's voice came from the doorway, but he was grinning. About time, Sofia added wisely. We were wondering when you two would figure it out. Oh, really? Camila laughed, pulling away from Daniel, but keeping his hand in hers. And how long have you been spying? Long enough, Lucas said. So does this mean we're going to be a real family? Like, officially? Daniel knelt down to the twins' level. We're already a real family. We have been since the moment you two were born, even if I didn't know it yet. But if you're asking if your mother and I are going to try being together again, then yes. If that's okay with you both, Sofia threw her arms around both of them. It's more than okay. It's perfect. Lucas joined the hug more slowly, but with no less feeling. Just promise you won't be gross all the time. We'll try to keep the gross stuff to a minimum. Camila laughed through her tears that night. After all, the guests had left, and the twins were finally asleep in their rooms. Exhausted from excitement, Camila and Daniel sat together on the couch, her head on his shoulder. Do you think we can really make this work? She asked quietly. I think we already are, Daniel replied. We're building something together, Camila. Not perfectly, not without challenges, but with love. That's what matters. 6 months later, at a small ceremony surrounded by family and friends, Camila wore a simple white dress and carried a bouquet of yellow roses. Lucas and Sofia stood as the dual ring bearers, their faces glowing with pride. Jorge cried openly. Aunt Maria handed out tissues to anyone who needed them, which turned out to be everyone. As Camila and Daniel exchanged vows, promising to honor not just their love for each other, but their commitment to their family. To growth, to facing challenges together, Sofia leaned over to Lucas. Remember when we were just two kids who liked coding? She whispered. Yeah, Lucas whispered back. Now look at us. We helped Mom and Dad fall in love again. We're basically relationship experts, Sofia agreed solemnly. 1 year after that, TechVision Solutions launched Words Are Friends nationally. With Lucas and Sofia as junior consultants, the application helped thousands of children improve their reading skills. The twins, now 8 years old, were featured in educational journals and news programs, always crediting their parents for teaching them that technology should serve humanity, not the other way around, but for Camila and Daniel. The greatest achievement wasn't professional success or public recognition. It was the life they'd built together from broken pieces. It was Sofia's laughter echoing through their home. It was Lucas finally calling Daniel Dad without hesitation. It was family dinners where everyone talked over each other, and Sunday mornings spent in comfortable silence. It was proof that sometimes the worst mistakes lead to the most beautiful redemptions. That love lost can be love found again. That children have an incredible power to heal the hearts of the adults who raise them, and it was evidence that truth, no matter how long it takes to emerge, will always find its way to light. Sometimes, in the most unexpected moments, when twin children win a competition and stand on a stage, unknowingly bringing their parents face to face with a past they thought they'd left behind. Some stories don't have neat endings. Life continues, challenges arise, and growth is never finished. But the best stories, the ones worth living, are the ones where people choose love over fear, honesty over comfort, and connection over pride. This was one of those stories, and it was only just beginning.